Welcome to the Full Tactical Range by Range Systems. I'm Bodo Bazinski, lead instructor for SEAL Mindset Training, and this is your drill of the week. This week's drill of the week is part 2 of a 3-part series on connecting your tactical flashlight with your defensive handgun. And we are connecting these into the 2 skills that we worked last week on the drill of the week, namely the primary hand-only shooting position, as well as the primary hand-only concealment draw. When we talk about connecting the defensive flashlight, the tactical flashlight with the defensive handgun, there are generally speaking 4 accepted methods outside of actually mounting a light onto the handgun. So these Glock pistols, for example, have a rail, and you could mount a light on there that would be used by the fingers or the thumbs. We're talking about ones that most likely your permit to carry guy is carrying, some sort of a tactical flashlight like this Surefire or a Phoenix or any number of really great flashlights that are out there that you can choose from. When we talk about using these 2 tools together, there are generally speaking 4 accepted methods. One is called an interlocking method, and this is where I put this flashlight interlocking between my index finger and my middle finger of my support hand, and then that goes alongside of my firearm, and now I use my thumb on my primary hand to get that flashlight to run. And it could be that I pull this in deep enough and I actually use the thumb of my primary hand to turn that flashlight on and off. I generally don't like that position very much. I think it really diminishes your ability to grip the firearm. It's also a fairly complicated position. You have to get that set up just right. It's got to be distance quite right for your thumbs to be able to run it. And it's just not fast to get into. And remember, we as citizen defenders carry and conceal firearm are generally speaking behind the power curve in defensive situations. We really need speed to catch back up. So I kind of stray away from that kind of a position just for the complexity. The next is something called the FBI search technique. So that looks like this. And the idea with the FBI search technique, well, it's right there in the name. It's designed to search out the threat. And the idea being is in that low light environment, I've got that light over here. And you won't know if I'm over on that side of the light or if I'm over on this side of the light. You wouldn't necessarily know, which means if you can't tell where I am in the dark, you might shoot at the light as the bad guy, and I'm less likely now to get hit. The question I always have for people that think that that's the way that we should be teaching citizen defenders is, why are you, the citizen defender permit to carry holder, searching for the bad guy? Now, I'm not saying that there aren't those situations, but generally speaking, that's a much more advanced skill that we would talk about further on. Great skill for law enforcement. They have to do it all the time. Not necessarily one that's really designed for the citizen. The other one that's taught is called the Harry's position. Harry's position is where the firearm comes out, other one comes up underneath just like this, and now sort of the 2 of them sort of work together back and forth. The positive on this one, it's very easy to sort of line the 2 up so that you have light and firearm working together in concert. The drawback is really this hand underneath doesn't do anything to actually support this firearm or manage the recoil of that firearm. And so you're still getting the same splits ballpark as a really solid primary hand only position. You just happen to have that other hand behind it. We're not seeing any extra increases in speed or accuracy. I do think the Harry's position has a value for the citizen defender, for the person that's permit to carry, that's carrying the flashlight. So let's say, for example, you drew and you dealt with bad guy, and now you're moving to a different position and you may have to continue fighting with that bad guy. But I think there's a slight modification that we could make to the Harry's position that will make it a lot more effective for use in actually mitigating the recoil of that firearm. We're going to get into that next week. For the citizen defenders and the permit to carry people that I work with all the time, the position that we show is the index position. The index position is where I take this flashlight with the light downward where my pinky is, the activation button at my thumb, and I'm going to take the flat part of my knuckles here, I'm going to put it in between my cheekbone and my jawbone, and in that spot right there, I'm now going to be able to tuck my arm in nice and tight, so I'm defending my ribs and my armpit and my neck and the side of my face. And with this position now, all I have to do is turn it on, because wherever it is that I look, my sights, my flashlight light, if you will, is now perfectly in alignment. And that makes for very, very consistent positioning with this light when we come up to engage a target. Gives us more speed. More speed means we catch up on the power curve. We're able to start to defend ourselves faster. So the index position is what we will generally be working with when we're talking about citizen defenders and low light and flashlights. For drill number 1 this week, we're going to set up that target between 10 and 30 feet, and we're going to put it in some shadows. If you don't have the opportunity to do that, that's okay. Just you make sure that your light is bright enough that when you go to lighted up that you can actually see that the light is hitting where it's supposed to on the target. And 10 feet's also a little bit close. We were probably in retention there, but it's a great way to start to be able to work speed and confidence, and you can move the target out or move the target in, vice versa. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna set ourselves up in that index position and then work through the checklist: feet, hips, vice grip, and then make sure that we've got both the bicep engaged, the tricep engaged, and the lat is engaged to get that good solid position. Initially, you'll do this magazine of 9 drill, shooting a single round at a time, but eventually, of course, you'd want to get to where you were shooting at least triplets, maybe 4s, maybe 5s, whichever it is that you prefer to default yourself to. And we're gonna work through that, doing those sets to build the index position along with the flashlight and the firearm. And that position is gonna look funky to you with the firearm in between the light and the target, and we wanna get used to that one as well. So let's do drill number 1. With drill number 2, all we're now gonna do is we're gonna add in that concealment draw from last time. And with the concealment draw for last time, we had our other hand that was sort of onto our body like this. This time, all we're gonna do is we're gonna take that indexed flashlight position and start from that sort of ready or relaxed position. And now as we go to do the draw, the light's gonna come on all the way out to full presentation, and we'll do a magazine of 9, 3 shots, reset, assess, and 360 check. One of our goals as defenders should be to try to find a way to integrate as many of our defensive tools and techniques as possible. The idea being here is that things that are integrated require us to have less tools, and they also make sure that we don't have to have a certain particular tool to be able to perform any set skill. And in defense, remember that it's a gigantic spectrum, all the way down from I avoided this thing to I have to physically make it so it's impossible for that threat to harm me or my loved ones. And anything that we have in between, right, it's whatever we've got on our body at that particular time. And so the defensive technique that we use for the tactical flashlight, right, this position that we're using for fighting somebody, that good, tight, boxered position, whether you're doing MMA or Kali, that same position is the same position that I would be in for shooting. It's also the same position that I would be in if I was yelling deterrence. All of those skills start to work together, so it's fewer numbers of techniques to develop, which means a deeper, more effective neural pathway, or you might call it a muscle memory, and more likely that we're able to perform these skills when it really counts. So practice these 2 drills this week to develop that connection between the aiming of the light as well as presenting and using that defensive firearm, and we'll see you in the next drill of the week. Like what you saw? Subscribe to my YouTube channel and keep checking out the training blog for more tips and drills. If you'd like a PDF copy of this training drill, go to sealmindsettraining.com and to the PDF download section. There, type in the promo code
drill number 38.